Hey, y'all, and welcome back after
Four
four
score and seven
scoring
years.
and seven. Jesus be a biscuit with some honey, hot honey. That sounds good.
Mm.
But welcome back to the AudaSEWtea Podcast. I am one of your hosts. Y'all, life done had us going every which way but through. But I'm one of your hosts, Julian of Julian Creates, and who am I talking with today?
I'm here. Tis Aaronica B. Cole. And I don't even know how to behave because we have been wanting to, of course, like record our podcast, but Julian's voice had different plans for us.
Because I have been and I think we've mentioned this before. If you follow me, you know, my voice has shit the bed, and it just don't like acting right no more. So, I have something. Well, the doctors say it's something called vocal cord dysfunction, where basically my vocal cords do the opposite of what they're supposed to do.
Mm,
Um, and instead of opening up, they close. And so, for most of the time, I sound like this. Um,
mm,
this is the first day in about 3 weeks that I am somewhat sounding normal, slightly lower, but normal. And to the point where I had to start going to speech therapy to learn how to use my vocal cords correctly again. That starts next month, but we got family members that are vocal therapists, and they done told me some exercises to do. So
hmm
I'm up here singing scales and stuff around my house, trying to knock things back into time. But we
Yeah.
here.
I'm not gonna lie, when he FaceTimed me just now, I didn't even know how to behave because I was like, oh my God. Like, and this, I feel like this past go round really has been, the longest time that it has been like your voice just has not returned, you know?
Correct. It was.
So, like, we celebrate.
Yeah, because like for people to understand, like, so this all started after BU, which was the end of June, July. I started having issues with like vocal problems, but I've been losing my voice and it a lot frequently since last year. Since
Hmm
um usually and that is one of the telltale signs of like that I have like the vid or something like that. Like I have some vocal issues. Like so been testing and stuff like that. And then after BU, I lost my voice, but had to have it quickly because I had some filming to do in Birmingham for
hmm
Threads magazine, which is now actually out. So if you go to threads.com, you can see the work I did around surgery beyond the basics, available on their website right now.
We'll
Um,
make sure that we include a direct link to that.
yeah. Um, and so took a steroid, got my voice back for that. And then basically since then, after that, I had it for that week, and then by the next week it was gone again when I got back
Mm,
home. And literally, um, there are spaces in my office building at work that cause me to go from voice to whisper.
mm.
Um, so it was like, it's allergy. Okay, we can work with that. When it had allergy testing, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll figure out exactly what it is. They tested me for 60 environmental things. I was allergic to 47.
Wow. That's
So
a lot.
meaning, child of God, I can't figure out exactly what it is. I'm allergic to my dog. I'm allergic to every type of tree, I'm allergic to cats. I'm allergic to a little bit of everything.
Mm,
Um, so I'm on nasal sprays and still also having to take Zyrtec and on like allergy immunotherapy, like sublingual stuff because the shots was like they was about to charge me like $3,000 for that. And I'm like, well, no, we're not doing that. Trying to get things right. Also on like it could be reflux. So I'm taking reflux. We throwing everything at it. And basically the next biggest thing is speech therapy so that I can keep a voice happening.
hmm
But when I tell y'all, I was in low cotton. Like you don't want to create. I
Yeah.
never realized that part of who I am is how I speak and how I show up in the world. And I did not feel like I could. So it calls into question worth and value. And
Mm-hmm.
especially right now when you already feeling like you screaming into the void in the intersections that you play, it was just hard. So we celebrate every day that I can talk. So we celebrate today.
Yeah. Literally, because he was like, actually, what are you doing right now? I was like, I'm about to make some pants. JK, 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 JK.
Even though she is
I was about to make a flight suit. It's different from pants.
pants, it
That's
got
pants
pants at the
adjacent.
bottom. It's bifurcated. It's pants. But we said we was gonna record because we ain't did that in a month of
We
Sundays.
haven't done that in so
And
long.
it's usually it's on me because if I can't like literally if you like on YouTube and stuff like that, I've shown y'all what I sound like. So sometimes literally it is a whisper. Um, to the point last week I was having to take meetings over text, like work meetings, because I could not be heard. Um, and you know, basically probably the voice will be lower for a while because I've strained the muscles using the muscles that kind of control the vocal cords,
Hmm.
and using the head voice stuff. So basically for weeks I've been only basically like I was singing falsetto because my main vocal cords weren't working. So everything is like strained and stuff like that. But yeah, like, my mama couldn't hear me, so and she liked to talk
Listen,
on the
I
phone
was
and
on the phone with when he was talking to his mom. His mom was like, listen, I don't want to say I want to be on the phone for too long, but I just got to tell you, I'm really worried. I'm really concerned. I didn't want to
I
interrupt the
mean like
conversation and be like, Mom, me too. But also, Mom, me
we
too.
all were. We all were.
Yeah.
Because this is not this is not something that anybody wants, or
Mm-mm.
it could be work. It's nothing like threatening. It is a nuisance, but it's tied to my identity and my personality. So for me, it was a threatening of self in many
Yeah.
ways.
I was gonna say I don't like I hate it when and of course as a parent I do this too and I'm like, look, unless it's life threatening, please don't interrupt me. Like, let's be so for real right now. Right.
Right.
But I think that it's also important to acknowledge that even when things are not life threatening, that does not absolve it from being important. Right.
Correct.
And that there is still that level of importance that you have a right to kind of feel like this is important and it does require attention and I do not deserve to feel bad because of it, you know? So I do think that that's also important, right? Because like
Right.
even if we get too far into this nitty-gritty of the battle of what's worse, right? Then why? Very similar to like how people are like, oh, I'm playing devil's advocate. Okay, well, the devil has enough advocates. Let's not throw any more in there. Instead, let's, switch that around because like, and just say, I'm just going to ask questions to foster thought, right?
Right.
Similarly, like, your heart is your heart and it doesn't have to be in comparison to anything else besides your ease, and
Right.
so um, the fact that this has not been easy is enough for it to be hard enough to be threatening, for you.
Right. Right. And again, like you just don't realize where the things that you need play into it.
Hmm.
And also what was really crazy is that it almost um you never realize how loud the world is
Hmm.
until you can't talk and nobody can hear you. It was real weird.
Yeah.
Also how much your throat controls everything, like even diction, because I could not it
You
almost
said
like,
throat and diction together, and the 13-year-old in me came out for a second.
you know what? You know
I,
what? But literally like how those things are connected in a way to
mm,
get the pronunciation of words. Like I was losing consonant sounds and especially like T's, like the more staccato sound of things. I couldn't
mm,
my voice everything was rounded and very um jellified. That's the best way I can say it. So it was real weird and it just did not feel like self. So
yeah.
today we celebrate
We
because
celebrate. We celebrate by recording.
yes, and we're gonna start by giving you a Am I the Asshole?
Mm,
Okay. So, am I the asshole for not letting my niece sew me a dress for a big career moment because she doesn't do a good job?
damn.
I love my niece. And I support her creative expression. I've told her that she could make me a dress for running around the house, running errands, hanging out, etc. I'm happy to wear something she's made at times where it's appropriate. I've worn the acrylic scarf she crocheted me for a few years now. It is not because it looks good. She uses YouTube and TikTok tutorials, so she doesn't know how to work off patterns, making tailoring adjustments, choosing the right fabric, etc. On TikTok and other social media spaces, the cool thing to do is announce that you've made your garment from a ratty thrifted sheet using an old pair of shorts you had lying around. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't. But she doesn't take the time to do things like pressing or finishing seams, trimming or sewing in ends. When I've suggested it to her, she says it's more authentic the way she does it. Child, she's calling everybody out. She begged me to do an outfit. She begged me to do an outfit for an event I have coming up where I will be on stage. I tried to let her down gently and said that I had a dress being tailored as we speak. She said I could wear that one to something else, but I should wear something she made because it will be special and a bonding experience for us. Everyone in my family is obsessed with bonding experiences. Everything has to be a bonding experience between the adults and the kids. It's exhausting. I reiterated my no, saying, no, I don't want you to make me anything. Her mom, my sister-in-law, is telling me that I care way too much about appearances and my image. This is an event related to my career. The last thing I need to do is walk on stage in something that doesn't fit or look like it is made or looks like it's made from a sheet, especially because I am plus size. How I look is judged more harshly.
It is, yeah.
Sister-in-law complaining about me being superficial is not new. I dared to buy one designer bag for myself and she did the whole thing. And she did the whole thing you see on Reels, the whole stupid. I would just thrift a bag and put the rest in my of the money in the bag bit. I was briefly engaged and she would not shut up about how I supposedly wanted a wedding, not a marriage, because I dared to want to pick my own decor and not just use whatever she could scrounge up on Marketplace or get for sale at the craft store. My career is the most important thing in the world to me right now. Obviously, my sister-in-law, her and her child are the most important thing. Oh, and obviously for my sister-in-law, her child is the most important thing to her in her world. But am I correct to put my career ahead of her child's feelings, or do my values automatically make me an asshole?
Listen, and I say this as a mom with three kids who has creative kids who will be like, "Oh, can I make?" You are not the asshole. Listen,
No, you're not.
and I also say this as someone who does not love ironing. I don't love it. I do not love pressing. I don't love ironing. And in truth, I'm not going to press and iron as I go unless I have to, right? Unless for me it's going to make a difference, right? And now when I talk about ironing, I'm not talking about finger pressing. I'm not saying any of that, right? I'm talking about getting up out of my chair to press, right? Babe,
Right.
listen. You are not the asshole because if you can be up on that stage, we do not need to be getting up there and you looking like Threadarella and having shit just be like all over the place. Absolutely out of pocket. Now, if you were going out for a picnic, if you were just going to hang out and we were talking about some like streetwear or something along those lines, okay, cool. But also, you are absolutely entitled to wanting things to be finished the way that you want them to be finished. I do think that there is a level of taste and a level of appropriateness that certain events and certain things call for. If you're going to be up on stage talking, like you should feel put together. And we all know that I talk a lot about how our presentation is directly tied into our mental as well as our emotional health. If you are not feeling comfortable and confident, you are going to be ending up doing yourself a disservice just because you have decided to put somebody else before yourself. And it's not that you're putting your career in front of them. You are putting yourself, your comfort, your mental, your emotional health in front of them, and that is deserved. That is a boundary that should be set because you do come before them. And that is absolutely appropriate. And no one should make you feel bad because of that. And also, baby sis needs to learn how to finish her garments, right? And I too love to see, these TikToks and things like that of a little bed sheet couture because we know I like to do bed sheet couture as well, but it's going to be finished. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, the little bloomer pattern that I used for the Atlanta Frocktails, I had to line that. Why? Otherwise, I was going to be giving a show that I didn't sign up for. So even if you are using bed sheets, right? And Ella, aka Handmade Millennial, is also known for her bed sheet couture, but she don't ever look like she just stepped up out the bed and threw a,
She'll
a
look like
sheet
what
on
she's been
herself.
through.
This is
Right.
not what is coming through. You can use bed sheets and still create a beautiful garment, right? And I'm not a sewing elitist. I'm not the one who's going to be up on threads talking about some, oh, well, you don't know what you're doing if you don't iron as you go. No, whatever. I don't care about that. But what I will say is that when it's time to finish, you better finish strong, right? Um, so no, not the asshole.
Right. I definitely don't think it's the asshole, especially because clearly it sounds like you and your niece do not have the same aesthetic either. And it's clearly your sister-in-law doesn't either. And they live a different type of life. And
An unfinished life.
look, Lord knows I love a good press. Y'all know me. I love a good press. But me and cutting off threads and stuff like that, that ain't my ministry all the time. And Lord knows I be stringerella sometimes and don't care. But that's on me, and I get to decide that. But
Mm-hmm.
this is also, she is trying to craft your image and how you are perceived in the world, and that's not fair. And she needs to understand that, like, like this is also about how you want to feel and show up in space. And for wanting to show up in space the way that you want to show up in space, that's your business. And for your sister-in-law to not get it clearly, I got questions for her too. And I got
Mm,
I got comments and I got judgments because I'm like, you should know better. Because clearly
yeah.
you're not teaching your daughter. Like if she wants to make this a job or a business, there is a level of fit and finish that then has to come to it. Now, no,
Mhm.
people have seen what I've made and then asked me to make things for them. And a lot of times as a sewist, I will say no because I'm like,
Mhm.
first of all, I ain't a sweatshop. Um, but also there is people want me to make things for them because they have seen what I can do.
Yeah.
I never have asked, can I make you something?
I've literally never asked that. And I just finished doing homecoming dresses. I've never been
Right.
like, hey, can I make? No.
No, 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 no. So, like, there is a different level, and clearly, you did not ask for it. She's asking you for like to make you something to wear for a big event, like, and you up here trying to make a garment.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't trying to make an accessory. You ain't trying to make a bag or something like that. That's different. Even I've been on stage. Sometimes I'm not wearing what I make all the time. Sometimes it's just easier to buy it. Like, and I have a very much a hybrid wardrobe of handmade as well as machine or commercially purchased. Some of it might even be dead stock or thrifted or something like that. Most of it's clearance. We ain't buying full price for shit. Um, but like you are definitely not the asshole for
Mm-mm.
deciding how you want to look and how you want to feel. And especially as you said, you feel that you will be more judged more harshly about fit and finish. You get to decide what it is you want to put on your body. And
Yeah.
people need to understand that. And their judgment, I'm like, the question I then asked, like, because the sister-in-law don't give me that she works a professional job. I'll just be honest. That's what it's giving.
Yeah. Because, and here's the thing, I have seen, and I've loved seeing this, right? Where people are kind of professionalizing streetwear,
Right.
right?
But with that, there is a level of polish. But it
There's
sounds
a
like
level of polish that comes along with it. And
but this
wanting
sounds
to
like this is
present
a
as being
professional
polished,
thing.
yeah, wanting to present as being polished is not you obsessed with your career, is not you obsessed with how you look, right? Wanting to present as polished is fine. Like even it's funny because today I had my one of my post-op follow-ups, right? Because like I still have to go and have my breast tissue and stuff like that checked. And as I was coming home, I was on the phone with one of my girlfriends, and she was like, we were talking about kind of how I was really doing my sewing full time and teaching and stuff like that. So she's like, tell me what's the end goal? And I was like, I was thinking, I was like, people want me to come out with a line and I don't want to. And she's like, why not? And I'm like, because I make things that I feel good in, right?
Hmm.
And my goal is to present polished while feeling like I'm wearing pajamas. Right. Like I just kind of always want to feel like I'm always in pajamas, but I just want to look like I'm put together. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with you wanting to look at yourself in the mirror and be proud of what is looking back at you. Right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Right. When we get dressed, what we have on makes a statement when we walk into a room before we have the opportunity to speak. And so if your outfit is not making the statement that you want it to make, people are already perceiving you wrong. Yes, we have heard the old adage of don't judge a book by its cover, but as people, we are visual creatures. So we see someone who looks and appears to be put together, and yes, we do jump to judgments. And I'm not even saying that that's wrong of us to do because hey, the judgment might be correct, right? Or
Right.
it might not be correct. Either way, like it allows us to decide how we're perceived. And if you're saying that what she would like to make you does not accurately describe or communicate what you want it to, you are not in the wrong.
Mm-mm. Never was in the wrong,
And it
honestly.
doesn't make you superficial either.
Shoot. No, like this is your job because clearly
Yeah,
it's your job and it's tied to your career.
right.
And like you have an image to uphold and you said that's what's important to you. And you have made that is a priority for you, which is
Yeah,
fine. You get to choose that prerogative and choose that priority. If they can't get that, they can't get that.
they can't get that.
Um,
Yeah,
and again, like there are certain like just because you put food, all this food on my plate don't mean I'm gonna eat it.
doesn't mean we eat it. And also, here's the
Oh,
thing. The other thing is that if I go hungry, do you have a plate for me?
right.
Right? Because if I am and as someone who used to work in corporate America, and as someone whose appearance has been heavily critiqued as a Black woman who is plus size, right?
Hmm.
Um, we get certain things removed from us. And then we already know that DEI has been on the attack, right? You have
Hmm.
a DEI program, and all of a sudden, you're no longer getting funding, et cetera, right?
Right.
And so that means that there's already a war on us. We're not in a position to be out here talking about and we be fighting the battle about what we wear to work, how our hair looks, our makeup, all. No, nah, I'm good. I'm going to get something that is properly tailored to my body so that I can present in a way that makes me feel good about me.
It
And this
makes
notion that
good about
people want to
me.
guilt us into choosing ourselves versus them is so preposterous to me because I'm just like, why would I choose you over me?
Why?
Why? ¿Por qué?
Why?
Why? Why would I do that? Because at the end of the day, right, like you aren't choosing me over you. Because
That
if
part.
that was the truth, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to be a no for me.
No, no. So what we would love to hear what y'all think of this scenario and how you would take it. So with that, we're gonna talk about some other things that people have been wanting us to bring up in the sewing community or just need
Hmm.
to be talked more about because y'all, first of all, can we just say we just gonna put it out there. The sewing community, like the country that we're in, feels a little bit charbroiled lately, a little crispy.
Hmm.
They done left it in the oven a little too long.
Hmm.
And we about to be, it's like we scraping off the burnt off the toast. Um, it's a hot ass mess. With so many changes to access to fabrics and things and just tools that we use. And then with the pattern companies doing what the pattern companies are doing, that Lord knows what they're doing. Um, We're excited for new things. We're excited just to see what's happening. It is what it is. Um, but I think there are some parts of conversation that um, we are not having, and which is leading to our own stagnation because we can't grow when we do not expose everything to sunlight that needs to be exposed.
Mm.
So, talk about the poll that you provided in the responses. Talk about how we got to
So
this.
it's funny because like I put this poll up in my stories because I just so happened to be crying. Just just being true to who I am as a person. I was over here. I don't even remember what I was crying about. And I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna put a poll up as I like gather myself because I'm over here like crying over God knows what. And but I was really interested to know what people would think about what we're not talking about in the sewing community, right? And not on this whole thing of because listen, we're not talking about what's going on with the big four, five, whatever. We're not addressing it. It's not gonna be talked about right now. Um, there's lots of feelings, et cetera, time and place, right? But I was so interested to know about what the things were that people would like to talk about that just are unmentionables. You know what I'm saying? And so I polled, and y'all, the first response that came through was the only one that I replied to because it literally had me in stitches. Because the first response was how everyone is coming out with ugly patterns. And at first I chuckled and was like, yeah, these like patterns are really ugly because like who wants to walk around looking like a potato sack, blah, 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 right? But then you know what occurred to me, Julian, is that women have stopped dressing for the male gaze. And we have started to dress in a way that makes us feel comfortable and empowered, which means that we have large pockets. Like, forget those small, tiny ass pockets that we could literally only keep the keys of patriarchy in and nothing else, right? We're out here having pockets that can hold multiple snacks, water bottles, our emotional support water cups, etc., right? And what I feel like the source of some of these ugly patterns, and I say ugly patterns loosely because we know that beauty is relative, is because we've decided that we are dressing for ourselves and for our comfort and for essentially like that pajama look. Maybe not the pajama and polished look, but just being like, yo, I'm comfortable and this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I'm dressing
Right.
for my gaze, my comfort versus the acceptance of others. So, what are your thoughts on this notion of ugly patterns?
So most of the time, it does not affect me because I focus more on masculine inspired fashion patterns, which there are already not that many of.
Right.
So I just be looking at it like, well, if that's what you want to wear, go forth.
Not well if that's what you want to wear.
I mean, Halle, go
He said,
forth.
have at it. Do what you
Right.
do.
But and like I get it, and not dressing for the male gaze, but also it's not even it's not even always that they're ugly, and ugly is subjective. It's the color, like when everything just becomes oatmeal or puce, or like it's the
Or
color
what?
puce.
What is that?
It pukey
Puce?
green puce. Yeah,
Oh
it's the
my
color.
God.
Um, like it's the mutedness and everything like that in an already drab world.
I say I call it the
Um,
50 shades of beige.
look that and I was looking through some of the other comments, and this relates to another comment that a lot of times, in my opinion, this is
Mm,
Julian Creates opinion, that coloring does not always work for especially people of melanated descent. Like it's lacking colors, lacking vibrancy, it's lacking ancestral lineage and connection. It just
mhm.
looks dead to me. Because if you think about it, even if you go into tombs in Egypt and stuff like that, it's 4 or 5 thousand years. It's still bright colored. You can still see what was there.
Mhm.
Like my people, melanin, we love color, and most like when you add color to some of these patterns, it does a world of a difference.
It
But
does, I agree.
we like there is, for lack of a better term, the whitewashing of it in these shades of gray and stuff. Like that's also it's this dystopian feel, and I'm like, I'm up here trying to escape the real dystopianness of the world. Don't do
It's
that to me.
sappy.
So that's what also makes them ugly to me,
Mm.
because it's the styling of it. Because literally, when a pattern is in my hands, when I add my color, my sauce, my flavor, a little hot sauce, a little Creole seasoning to it, a little sazon, I can make some shit happen. I can make some shit happen. I can make a green bean casserole work when
He
you give me the
said,
when you
them
give me the
green bean
shit.
casseroles gonna be casseroling, okay?
When you give me the right shit, I and we take off them Ritz crackers and whatever else is be on there. I can make some shit pop. But when that's all you selling, and it looks like everybody is following the same mode, that's where I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'm good, because sometimes we have seen the things, especially on people of color, where they come out here looking like they extras on 50 Years a Slave, like because of the coloring, and then it was the shape. I'm like, you know what? And then
It's definitely giving a little Underground Railroad.
look, they are following the drinking gourd,
Yeah.
and they are right now they are wading through the water.
And so, like, I understand that, like, a lot of us, I remember there was a comment a couple years ago because there is a creator that literally only uses linen, and we know that linen wrinkles. And somebody was like, why are your clothes always wrinkled? Like, have you never heard of an iron? And I get that there is currently a bigger push to be using more natural fibers, which I too love,
Yes.
right? This is a
Hmm.
cotton-based French terry.
Hmm.
So we're talking about more natural fibers. Um, but I do agree that I think that, and I get it that like some people are very much so giving like, Kanye's slave wear. Like I get
Oh,
it.
child of God.
Um, and that is their aesthetic, could not be me though,
No.
which was also interesting because someone else commented similarly, the push to conservatism with these little house on the prairie patterns.
Yes. Because if I see another Peter Pan column, if I see another,
Excuse me, the Bo Polo has a Peter Pan collar.
yeah, but that's cute, and you do it in colors.
You're right.
Right. That don't count.
I shall
You know,
carry on.
you know what I'm talking about, and then you add, you know what I'm talking about, or very sailor-ish, and then it's given the Lord Ashley, and it's big, and it looks like a bib, and it's white, and then you add the ruffles, and then it's with like some type of homespun underneath it. No, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm telling y'all, I'm over it. I'm telling y'all, I'm judging y'all when I see it. Because it looked like I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like, we still in silent Julian mode, and Julian silent was uncut. Okay, so bear with me. Sometimes y'all be looking like y'all came out of the 1993 maternity section of the JCPenney catalog. Do you hear me? I'm looking y'all straight in the eyes. Stop it, please. For the love of God, do you know what do you realize the world we live in right now? As Kamala said, these motherfuckers out here crazy, and you up here dressing like you want them to be. Stop it.
I do feel like,
I'm giving y'all the black mama look, like y'all need to sit down and shut up and go somewhere. Act right.
mhm.
Just FYI.
I do feel like, you know how like a lot of people share that when they see people flying the American flag, it makes us feel unsafe, right? When
Yes.
Black people see it,
Yes.
it makes us feel unsafe because it makes it feel like you are hyper American. And we know that a lot of times America spelled AMERIKKKA
Right.
is really associated with just the American flag. I'm not going to lie when I say that the Little House on the Prairie aesthetic for me makes me feel a similar way. It doesn't make me feel safe. It doesn't make me feel, you know what I mean? Like to me, it makes me feel like you really do align with these conservative beliefs and you're voting to put us back in shackles. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
if we're just like even outside of aesthetic, for me, it just doesn't feel like you're a safe person if I'm being completely honest. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And it may or may not have anything to do with that, but as in a world where the more conservative we get, the more we see like heroin chic coming back and the rise of skinniness, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
The also the return of this little house on the prairie look does make me feel very, very uncomfortable. Um, because it makes me feel like we are so close to being Handmaid's Tale.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I get it. Everyone is entitled to their own aesthetic, whatever. But for me, that is it. Um, yes. One of the other trending comments, though, and it's so interesting to me because, like, I teach our measurement and fit classes.
Hmm.
Um, but people talking about how many patterns need altering to fit people and how it should be normalized. And I try to use my platform, of course, to normalize that, right? And reassure people that there is nothing wrong with your body. There's everything wrong with these patterns. And it's not even that the pattern is wrong, right? But we know that patterns are drafted off of a sloper, and the slopers that are used for the big five were developed in 1940s, right? And if you're like,
Correct.
oh, I'd like to learn more about that, make sure that you tune in and stay abreast of what Lisa from Black Women Stitch is doing, because this is part of her research. But because of that, the bodies that we have of today were not factored in. But when you begin to use indie patterns, which is one of the reasons why I really support using indie patterns, especially as a woman, those slopers look a little bit different. They are not just off of those same blocks, right? New slopers have been developed. Like if you are of a plus size body, I do highly recommend Cashmerette's Sloper School. I think that it's fantastic because it does center the plus size body, but it does also teach you how to apply your sloper to those specific patterns and that sort of thing. Creative Costume Academy by Trisha Camacho, who is a dear friend of ours, is
Hmm.
another fantastic resource. But I do think that we do need to normalize that. And it's not to shade pattern designers, right? Because pattern designers, we can only design off of what we have available. And if I decide to develop a sloper and then thus design off of my sloper for my line, I'm not wrong for that. You know
No.
what I
And
mean?
plus, like, it's if you have to, there has to be some type of standard of measurement for there
Right.
to be any type of production or any type of scale.
Exactly.
So, like, everything cannot fit you. Like, a garment cannot fit you individually and be sold
Mhm.
at scale. So there has to
Right.
be, I understand the reason that we have scales. Now, again, these have not been done since like for the big five since the 40s. Well, I
Hmm.
think they updated a little bit in the 60s, but most of the time, the way that we got to standard measurements was really around the 40s when it was done by the American, like some type of American researcher.
Hmm.
A lot of times it did not include people of color. Like literally they
Nope.
took
They
the
pulled
measurements.
5,000 white women of a similar socioeconomic status. So,
Correct. And also, they were all wearing undergarments
right.
the same, which are no longer like our undergarments now, including panty girdles and everything else
Hmm.
to give a certain aesthetic. So you up here are building clothes off of underpinnings and foundations that we no longer rely on.
Hmm.
Okay. So yes, there are so many reasons why it does not fit. Um, and sadly, for so long, we are told that our bodies are meant to fit this and not the
Hmm.
clothes meant to fit our bodies. And as we change that, and I know for me, like I hate fitting. That is the least favorite part of
Now, do
garment
you feel like
making
you
for
have to
me.
make a lot of adjustments with men's patterns, or does it feel like that scale? Okay.
So the way that my body works, and it has changed from jump. So
Hmm.
technically, like if I look at my measurements, I'm like a 36, 38 chest, a 32 waist currently, and a 40 hip. So like I am
Because he
not
got that backyard. Sorry.
I'm not like a straight size anymore. A lot of times what happens is yes, my chest is a 38, but my shoulders are a bit broader. So a lot
Hmm.
of times I'm struggling in the shoulder. So sometimes there's some adjustments I have to do there. Arm length is some place that I usually have to do. When I was a larger size, it usually accommodated for the arm length. It no longer does that. So I have to make sure that the
Mm.
arms are long enough. Um, Sometimes like where it will gape, it makes no sense. Like measurement wise, it should work. It does not work on my body just because of the distribution of how I am shaped.
Yeah.
And we ain't even gonna talk like the hips and thighs. Like that's like literally. I can get a pair of pants, and this is even in just ready to wear right now. Like that would be too big in the waist. Like I bought a pair of dress wranglers. Dress wranglers, they say you always got to size up. I did not know almost had to size up 2 to 3 times
That's because you banging back in that
to
backyard.
fit. Like literally, I could not. Like I had to.
Start calling you the backyard again.
Chad, I wish. But I was up here jumping to get the jeans on because of the thighs.
Yes,
But
come on,
then when we got
Beyonce.
there, good old gap in the like in the
That
waistband and
waistband.
stuff like that. And let's not tr and but then because of the hip, couldn't fit anything in the pockets. I'm like, well shit, I can't do shit with these.
And see,
Um,
like I thought that
yeah.
it would be different or a little bit easier for men. And
We
don't
don't
ask me
talk
why I
about
think
it
that
as
because
much.
I sew for Denver, I sew for
Right.
Bo.
And you
And
know,
yeah,
you got to make some changes.
yeah,
But we don't talk about it, but also I think it's more normalized for men to go and get certain things also. Because if you think about it, if you go buy a suit, you go buy a suit, you always usually have to get it hemmed.
right.
So there is still like tailoring and stuff like that that you see in menswear
It's true,
that is
yeah.
still built into that. So it's less
Yeah,
of a conversation. But we don't talk about the hips and the like the shaping of stuff. Like 'cause some people, some men just do not care, or everything is a little bit more oversized and baggy depending on who they are. Um,
right.
just all depends. So, but we face the same things, and a lot of times those conversations are not had around pattern adjustment for men. Because sometimes it might not be a full bust, but it might be a full stomach, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it is a full bust, depending on the guy
Right.
or the body.
Yeah, depending on how you hold weight. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
so we don't talk about it, but there's a lot of part of the masculine side of patterns and stuff like that that we do not talk about because it's that line of business is not as old, it's not as established. A lot of times before that, it was held in a tailor's hand, and you did not have the same patterns. When patterns came out in the 1850s, of course, it was women's patterns starting in like the Butterick magazines back in the 1850s,
Yeah.
1856 maybe. You started to get men's patterns. It was for soft items such as shirts and chemises and stuff like that, things that could easily be laundered. You were not getting suit patterns and stuff like that. When you start getting suit patterns and stuff like that, it was for coats and different things like that. That came later, and that was more your casual styles. So a lot of your tailored styles are that's a more of a novel idea to find for home sewers because a lot of
Yeah.
times that was done by a tailor, and there are a lot of skills and stuff like that that are still behind that wall of
Hmm.
education and apprenticeships and stuff like that for tailoring, that we are slowly starting to see come out, and we need to because we are losing the recipes because people are dying off without new people coming into industries.
That's so interesting that you say that because like one of the things that I was going to bring up is that I do feel like there's an absence of patterns that are dropping that are more tailored in nature, or rather, when we do see them, they're
Mhm.
being produced overseas versus in America.
So I think it's interesting. I follow on YouTube. Her name is Nicole Rudolph. And I'm about to make sure that I have all her information. She teaches out of Nicole Rudolph. She teaches out of University of Indiana Bloomington, maybe,
Okay.
and does and works in like their fashion history programming and stuff like that. And has just not too long did a video kind of what happened to what killed kind of the sewing industry, the home sewing industry as we know it, and really equates to the 1950s and like the start of fast fashion and hobbies and stuff like that. I think that because sewing really was created as a hobby for middle America, like to occupy time. Okay. And there was a right and a wrong way that respectable society was supposed to spend their time, if you think about it. And as we get away from that, we are also losing skills, especially
Yeah.
in America. So there are so many sewing skills that we no longer have. And our sewing patterns and stuff like that, commercial patterns are also geared towards that as well. So everything is simplified and dumbed down because we no
Mm.
longer know how to do it. Or a person who is getting into it, it seems too hard. So we dumb down the styles. So things are because if you look at most patterns, even commercially,
And
they
you know
you
what? It's funny because It's funny you say that, right? Because I've been talking about releasing my rugby pattern or putting my rugby pattern
Hmm.
into testing. And one of the things that has pulled me back because I wanted to have a hidden placket and I just don't feel like having to put a hidden placket into testing
And teaching it. Yeah.
and teaching it. And it's not even particularly hard, right? Because I
Right.
did it one way and it was very easy. But then I was like, oh, it's hard to actually button. And I feel like, becoming closer with, Lynn from Sona Adaptive
Hmm.
has really caused my eyes to be opened up to how patterns can be adapted to different abilities, right?
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that kind of drew me back was like on this first iteration, how easy is it to adapt or how easy is it for someone to actually use? How easy is it to get those buttons in? And I was like, oh, it's not easy. Like, and I'm someone who I don't have arthritis in my hands.
Right.
I do have like nails, but I was like, this is hard for me. And so I
Right.
want to make it easier. And but I'm also like, as even as I do want to make it easier, I'm sitting here like, but do I want to put this into testing?
Like, and as a society, I can't say that we are always open to growth and learning. So, and that is what is the people perishing due to lack of knowledge. And we're seeing that, and let's be real, and sad to go there, but in all aspects of our society right now, to be smart, to learn, to want to explore, and that is poo-pooed upon. That is not a popular favor of things. So um the easy is what is
Hmm.
that is winning out. But then you see out of like I'm loving patterns out of Russia. I wish
Yeah.
there were more men's, but
I
or
enjoy the patterns out of Rush too, but I'm not paying all this money for each individual size
well,
because
there's that. Yeah.
from my top to my bottom, I range between, again, depending upon the pattern, how it's drafted, I can range from four to five different sizes,
Right.
you know?
And it's
And
yeah,
while I can draft, if I'm paying for it, I'm
right.
not trying to draft outside the lines. Like I'm a blend, you know what I'm saying? And I don't have a problem grading, but I'm not gonna redraft this shit. Not if I gotta pay for it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. And that's real. Or but even out of like some of the things out of Africa or
Oh yeah.
like we are missing out because we have just the curiosity to learn and stuff like that is no longer here. Um,
Yeah.
on a grand scale that people are wanting to learn, or even like if you look at old school patterns, like finish it in the usual way. Or the fact that like I was looking at some patterns, I'm working on a trench coat pattern by Simplicity right now.
Hmm.
And I was looking at the pattern envelope and I'm like, this hem is wavy. Like, why is this hem so wavy? And I've even
Yeah.
went and looked back at some of my own patterns, like my Nomi 2059, which is the coat pattern. I hate the hems of my coat. And it's
Mm.
because the one thing that they did not add is to interface and add a facing to the hem.
I would,
That
yeah.
that
Yes.
will straighten so much stuff out. And literally, modern patterns no longer do that. Vintage ones do.
Yeah.
So it's like some of those aspects of things that we are no longer relying on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but wait a minute, this pattern uses like the pattern I'm currently using uses almost I use every bit of 5 meters of fabric
Ooh.
for this coat. I mean, it's gonna be nice, but I'm like, and then you ain't gonna tell me to go and interface my hem. Like, and you saw how much fabric this is gonna take, but yet you want me to interface a belt, but not gonna interface the hem. Make it make sense, Sway. I just help me out. Look. I just I just want to have a conversation. So, like, I think that as community now, how are we individually, like, and the same thing that we're seeing with schools. I think we are now getting to the point now where as they are taking information and stuff out of schools, we are now having to get back to old school community education.
Hmm.
So as a community, how are we building each other up and how are we educating
Mm.
each other? How are we increasing our knowledge and increasing our skills and base? Because let's be real. the way this economy is going, we gonna need the skills. Like someone could be
Yeah.
that skill, but you have to know how to do it. And just like in that first, the first thing, like that person, it is trendy to make it look for her community, like to make it. I did this and just focusing on creativity and not on the polish. But when you add the polish to it, that's what leads to opening up of more doors into growth. Okay.
Yeah.
How we staying in the growth mindset and doing that part. If she wants to stay there, there's an audience for that, and that's fine. But oh, this is gonna sound so mean. Bless me, Father. Um, I remember we used to sell some stuff at a farmer's market, and
Mhm.
people would talk about people who were um like and focus on capitalism and this that, and the other, and people only focus on image. And the lady who would always say that her teeth were black, and I was like, I need you to focus a little bit more on your image. You know, like I can't take you seriously when it looked like everything is about to fall out your head.
Damn, that's your head.
It did. I was like, Jesus. But so like there is a place and a space, and
Yeah.
especially if you are from a group of intersections, so black or woman or plus size or man or queer or something like that. Like there are other eyes and other views that people are taking of you, and you want to sometimes show up a certain way into space so that they
Yeah.
can then hear your voice that you're talking with. Um, so be ready for that. And I mean, especially now more than ever, like understand that this movement does not have a name yet. This
Hmm.
era of time does not have a name yet.
Hmm.
When we were in the civil rights movement, we did not call it the civil rights movement.
No, we
That
called
came
it after the fact.
after, right? Right now we just know this is the shit show because it is. But the shit show needs art. The shit show needs visuals. The shit show
Yeah.
will have a look. How
Yeah.
are you constructing that look? How when you look back at this 10 to 20, Lord, let us be here, Jesus. Um, how are you going to say that I showed up? And
Yeah.
we need to focus on how we show up and helping other people curate how they are showing up as well, because it is
Yeah.
important. Now, when
It is
especially
important.
like they are operationalizing fear and trying to instill fear to quelch creativity, to quelch individuality, to quelch diversity, all these different things. How are you showing up? That's going to be
Yeah.
important. And it also needs to have the quality and finish needs to almost be impeccable because it almost acts more as an armor. Like you can't touch me. You can't say shit about me. Yes, it's different, but it's good.
Hmm.
And now more than ever in this world, I think that needs to be part of it because what we are with all the craziness that is happening, are not they are not operating in excellence.
Mm-mm.
And the idea of excellence has been that is elitism and wrong. And honestly, it can't always be. Now, I'm like, by being elite, like you can be elite in what you're good at. Now, I'm not trying to say that you got to be that in everything or that just because you're good at one thing, like you better than others. But there's a level of I'm operating in my best because I want to,
Hmm.
that we are trying to bring to this. And I think people need to realize that there's still a part of me that wants to be good for me,
Yeah.
that we need
Yeah.
to, that is part of the resistance that we're missing. I know this went a different direction than what we was
No,
talking
but you know what?
about. Went there.
It's funny that you say that because that actually kind of led in to one of the other comments that was shared, right? Which
Hmm.
actually touched on, there were two comments that kind of touched on it, right? One was the idea that there is more than one way to do a thing, which I agree with,
That's
as well as
absolutely.
the elitism within sewing, right?
Mhm.
So someone says there's more than there being more than one right way to do something. And then there was, let me see. Um, I forgot. I can't find it, but it was definitely, it mentioned the elitism. But, and here's the thing, right? I also feel like some of this also even kind of goes into one of the, or a set of other comments that was talked about in here was learning disabilities like ADHD and how
Mhm.
challenging it can be when it interacts with like your creative process, right? Or following
Right.
directions or doing things a certain way, right?
Right.
Like I do think that, and I'm someone who I do feel like there's a lot of elitism in the sewing community. Like I do feel like people do this. If you don't do it my way, then it's wrong. Right. Like if you, and I know that I have talked about the pressing thing, and I'm gonna continue to talk about the pressing thing until the cows come home. Right. But
And
this
I'll let you
notion
talk
that,
about it, even though, I love a good press.
right. And here's the thing. I press a lot as well, right? Like I've
Right.
got someone walked into my office because I was doing these homecoming fittings. They walked into my office, they were like, "Why you have so many irons?" And I was like, "Listen,
Don't ask no questions. How about that?
don't ask me dumb questions." Okay, no, I'm just it's not a dumb question, but it's like hanging up on my pegboard, I've got two. Behind me, I have, and those are two minis. Behind me, I have two full size set up. Behind that, inside of like a carrying case, is another like two minis, right? So on
I'm
display,
currently
I just
using
have
a Laura
six.
Star on top of a Laura Star.
Listen, I'm not even in Laura Star.
I'm just saying. I'm
But
using
what
a
I
Laura
am
Star on
saying
top of
is
a
that
Laura Star.
like I'm not an anti-presser. I'm not an anti-ironer. But this notion that we have to iron a certain way in order for it to be the right way, or you're not doing it well enough is terrible, right? Or
Mhm.
in fact, I was talking about this on Tuesday because I taught a serger class and I was talking about how some people are very much so obsessed with having pretty guts of their garments, right? And how
Right.
they feel like that's what makes it beautiful or expert. But the truth of the matter is that like couture does not have pretty guts.
Usually they ugly as hell. It looks real
Right.
crazy.
And so the notion that there's only one way or that we have to have pretty guts or everything has to be tucked in and per picture perfect is one that prevents us from excellence, right? And the truth of the matter is Julian, have you looked inside of my sweater that I have on right now? Have you
Mm,
seen the seams inside?
no.
Oh, okay. And you know what? It is still colorful. It's still well constructed. I still got compliments on it when I wore it outside, right? It still is doing its job in keeping me warm. So this notion that we have to do these things a certain way. Now, do I believe that you should press out that bias tape if you're constructing it before you go ahead and install it? I do because of ease, right? You're gonna press it into place, get some memory hems on in there, make it a little bit easier on you so that you're not fighting with fabric. Do I believe that when you put on a collar stand or that collar that you should press up underneath that piece that you're going to end up top stitching? I do. Why? Because it's going to make it so much easier. It's not
Yes.
necessarily right versus wrong, but it's
Correct.
going to add a layer of ease to your construction. Why
Yeah.
fight if you don't have to? Do
Yes.
I believe that you should probably use a clapper if you feel like something's going on with your pressing? I do. Because there's probably nothing wrong with your pressing except for the fact that you are not allowing it to cool in the position that you're trying to press it into, so it
Right.
just needs to cool down and be able to make just like how we talk about pin curls and we gonna put them bobby pins into them pin curls so that it holds on while it sets. We should be doing the same thing with our presses if we're feeling like that fabric is not holding on to that press as well. But I don't believe that that's the only way, right? Like
No.
if you don't have a
Right.
clapper, okay, you better go get a can. You got cans in your closet, go ahead, put something on
Child.
there, just weight
And
it to
what
hold it down.
normally what I'm doing, even now, I will press it. I got asbestos hands. I'll put my hand on
Mhm.
top and
Yeah.
just to give it a little extra bit of pressure. That's
Yep.
that's that's how I do. And I have 5011 pressing like
Accessories.
right near me and will still use my hand just because it's
Yeah.
it's just what I know. Um, and I think like there's still a diversity of thought that we want to celebrate and that is also invited here, that we don't always fully talk about and go through. But y'all, like sometimes I'm over people and I'm over like we shouldn't things should not be this hard.
It shouldn't be
And
hard.
and the world is hard enough. Why are we up here fighting over this stuff?
Why are we and you do know how many times that I have been told that I'm not a real sewist because I cut with a projector and I use a rotary cutter. So because I don't print out or because I don't use tissue or because I don't use paper at all, or because I don't use pins, or because I don't mark my notches a certain way, what I do is wrong, right?
And then they mad at me when I send them an invoice because clearly if you got that much of paying, you better be paying a good bill in my life. Because you talking like you leaving me happy endings like every night. Now, if you was and paying a bill or two,
Or
you
even
could
if you were just over here cutting out the fabric for me.
nope. You got to pay a bill.
He said bills only.
You got to
I only
invest in my
recognize
life.
bills being paid. That's it.
Yes, you got to pay
Bills are
attention to my
nothing.
life. I'm
Yeah.
just saying. Or buy me sewing machines or two, irons, something. And I like the expensive shit. That's
You
just me.
are very expensive. You are very expensive.
Proudly. Proud.
Um, oh, and you know what? This one that
hmm
is something that I do feel like needs to be mentioned, right? And someone said the hate you get when you monetize when they had no issue with you doing it for free.
Because they're mad because they can't. Let's just be real about it. They mad because they can't. And I think that if you want, and here's the thing, if you want to monetize, monetize, and you don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to.
Right.
Nobody's forcing you to. Um, Child, that's a whole nother. Cause we're gonna
Maybe,
hold some of
you know
these.
what? That might need to be a podcast episode.
Yes, we're
But
gonna
here's
hold
the
some of
thing, right?
these.
We know that, and what we will also bring up in that moment, and I do feel like, I'd be having a love-hate relationship with Craft Snark. I love Craft Snark, right? Because I do feel like they
Oh,
bring a level of truth that is their truth, right? Or they say some of the
very.
hard things, right?
I've for my own mental health and for my own pop off fitness, I can stay off of there so I stay out of a courtroom. Praise the Lord.
So I only go on to look in and see what information they have on, especially like topics that I should talk about. So like the Narita Hansen thing and,
Right. I get
stuff
it.
like that.
It makes
But I
sense.
do respect how they only quote unquote bring up people who are making money. But I do also feel like it can be a little harsh, right? Because monetizing a creative um brand is hard because when you're a
Yes.
creative, it's very personal, right? Which is why, like, and I was talking about this in one of my weekly vlogs, and I was just like, yeah, I just am not looking forward to the testing process. And it's like, well, why aren't you looking forward to the testing process? Because this is very personal for me. I drafted every
Right.
single size that I'm
Right.
testing through here. I had this vision, I drew out these pattern pieces, and now, and some testers are not nice. Like, some testers simply are not kind and they do not remember that you are a person. Like, I am not AI drafting a pattern here. Like, it's me who's doing it. And feedback does not have to be soft and cushy, but feedback and just simple honesty is what we're looking
It's
for,
lovely. It's lovely.
right? All I need to know is, do your shoulder seams match? Or if I need to check that. Are the side seams matching? Do I need
Are
to
the
go
not
back and
matching
true
right?
up that specific size because my size matched up, right?
Right.
But there's so many things that go into it and it does feel personal. You know what I mean? Like, that's like me being like, oh, well, if you made your outfit and I just happen to comment like that's not my style, like, oh, well, you shouldn't be offended by it. Well, shit, I am. Like, my feelings are hurt now because,
Right.
like, not saying that my style should be everyone's style, but like, you didn't have to say that.
Right. So y'all, because I'm realizing the voice is about to go. I can feel it. I can feel it trying to
Oh,
draw out my
okay.
body. So we gotta keep it cute. Um, but we want to hear from you. So what else are we not talking about that you want to hear about or that y'all want to have a
Hmm.
better discourse about? And also, what are some ways that as community we can foster curiosity and creativity? Because we
Ooh,
need to
yeah.
continue to do that. And I think that's part of the act of resistance on a day-to-day basis. We need to stay curious. We need to stay focused on what that brings to our life. We need to
Hmm.
find the joy and the curiosity of trying, and trying to grow and excel. So I want to hear from y'all. Like, what are ways that you're doing that, or what are ways that we all can do that as a collective? But y'all, we are so happy to be back and talking with y'all. Do we know when the next one's gonna be? No, I'm gonna be real honest with you. We don't. But we're gonna try to show up more. And hopefully my voice will say, we'll do that because yeah. Or if you might get some singular episodes, I will be there. You just might not hear me as much, but I will still be in the midst.
Hmm.
Um, Also, definitely check us out on social medias because we out here. So even
Hmm.
if we go a little quiet, we're still always there. And we want to hear from y'all. Know that we are all part of this community together, and we are all in this shithole right now together
Mm,
because these motherfuckers are crazy.
crazy indeed.
Don't go crazy with them.
Don't do it.
So until next time, y'all, stay resisting the crazy, but also stay creative and stay audacious. So talk to y'all later.
Bye.